What's up, everybody? This is David Sussman from David Sussman Israel Tours, and this is the podcast, People of Efrat.
Welcome, everybody, to People of Efrat.
That was perfect. That was perfect. All right, that's a wrap, guys. Should we do another clap so we can know
that's
that?
it. Nothing else needed.
Oh man, good afternoon.
Are we like rolling this?
Yeah, we're rolling. Yeah,
We're rolling.
yeah.
All right, cool.
We're a one-take shot.
So we're here in a really cool little corner of our neighborhood. We're all within a kilometer. We're all actually within like 500 meters of our houses here.
I think all of Dagan, like this neighborhood, the newest neighborhood here in Efrat, I think the entire neighborhood is only, like the entire diameter of it is 500 meters.
Yeah,
which works out well for this lockdown because basically we can roam wherever we want to roam. The neighborhood is ours to...
It depends how you slice it, because we were looking at it together about a week or two ago. We were thinking like, how could we walk to each other or whatever back when it was 500 meters. And if you cut a straight line, you're for sure good. But who's walking a straight line through houses and backyards and stuff like that? But either way, I think you're right.
Yeah, but I don't think it makes a difference the way you walk.
Yeah.
I think it is the way, like they judge it the way the crow flies. It's not, oh, well, you took this roundabout way, so you've been walking for 500 meters. No, it's like, are you 500 meters away from your house?
Right.
So a guy like Yakir, who lives like, I wouldn't say right in the center, but a little bit lower down than me, if you're right here on Homey, you're right in the center of the neighborhood, forget about it. You're good to go.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's cool. I mean, that we live so close and we're able to do this, during all this lockdown and whatever. And obviously we all walked here using our masks and we're being careful. So like this little
our
corner,
kids go to school together.
That's true.
So I feel, that's why your kids a little bit further away. It's like, well, my kids don't go to school with you.
It's true. It's like a very good point. And also, you just got out of Bdude, so you're sort of like clean. You have like a clean slate.
Right. I'm the cleanest.
It's
of
like
all
you literally got out of Yom Kippur. You got out of Bdude. You have like a fresh neshama lavan. Like
I didn't think about that. I got out with like a purified heart, with a purified soul, and also like. With the green light as far as my health is concerned, because we were in Bdude. And
so we got the body, we got the soul, but what about the mind? Like, what was it like in Bdude? Like, what was the experience?
Man.
What did you guys do?
Is a great question, and I know that most of your viewership's like here in Efrat, and I just want to say how awesome it is to live here in Efrat, because I'm the newbie amongst the three of us.
Right.
It feels like you've been here forever, but yeah.
It does feel like I've been here forever. I mean, it's like it took like a week, and I was just like, oh, wait a second.
Right.
It's
my place.
This is my spot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what was it? What you saying?
No, I was just thinking like the whole Bdude thing. Like we were getting into it, and we were like, how is that? How did it work? And obviously, many of us have been through it, but everybody's experience is different. You got a wife, you have two kids, you have twins. Okay, it's different. They're the same exact age. There's a certain like aspect to like these kids being the same age. Like, how do you guys stay mentally sane?
Well, you mentioned the fact that we have twins. We got 6-year-old twins. My wife Melissa, my kids are Binyamin, Chana Kayla, and I think really because they're twins, it was probably easier than other folks in Bdude, because they're at the exact same age, and so they're at the same level in what they want to engage with and how they play and their creativity and so on and so forth. For the most part, obviously, differences are for sure there. And so they were really good with one another. Energy-wise, it was like they needed to burn off the energy. Like they have so many chugim, these extracurricular activities after school programming. They do judo, they do soccer, Chana Kayla's in gymnastics, and if they're not doing that, they're riding their bike. So kids are constantly burning energy. And when you're in the house, now Baruch Hashem, we live here in Efrat, we have some space to roam, even within our our Dalet Amos and within our homes, and we have a nice little front yard, whatever. But it's not enough to burn off the energy. So what I noticed was Binyamin was just like literally like he would like go from one end of like the kitchen and then run through the kitchen and then run through like that like middle foyer, like where you walk in and you got the stairs right there, run through that little section and then run through the family room and just like full speed and just jump right into the couch as if it was like a pool or something. He's just like, and he would do that like 50 times in a row. So I would assume the fact that he did that, he was probably going a little bit crazy. I don't know. What do you think?
It's funny because that's exactly what I was doing when I was in Bdude. I was going from that corner to that corner to that corner, especially in the previous Seger when we were in this smaller place. But yeah, I can relate. But you guys, like, you know, you and Mel, like you guys, you know, I walked by, we did the wave, we said what's up. That was a great idea, Yakir. Yakir came by our place when we were in Bdude, and it was so sweet that you guys just came to wave. So I took that wonderful initiative. I walked by his place, Hari and Chanukah and of course Binyamin, they're all buddies. So we're like going to wave, and we're like, hey, you guys looked fine. You're just relaxed.
Everyone puts on a good show. Everyone puts on a good show for the public.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're all fine.
You know
Yeah,
what?
but we snuck up on you.
When somebody comes to visit, it's exciting.
It is.
You
It's
know,
true.
you put a smile on our face.
Right.
That was good. And
Yeah,
thank God
people go out
we live
there.
right across from the shul.
Or
and
maybe
so
don't go out
people,
there, but
you know, we're popping in saying hello, and that was we're very grateful for that. But
Right.
it's not easy. You know,
Right.
Mel and I are both very, very social people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd say we need, but it's something that's just part of who we are. Like we
Right.
engage people on a daily basis.
Right.
So not having that was definitely like a complete paradigm shift in, I want to say almost everything. And
Yeah.
that was challenging, right?
Right.
That was challenging. I want to say when you don't have something and you realize how important that is in your life and you don't have it, you got to recalibrate because that weight in the scale
Right.
kind of like, you know, is something that you base your daily life on. And when you don't have that, it's like, okay, now I got to recalibrate the scale, like what's going on.
Right.
And that requires soul searching. That requires, mental stability or
so interesting.
engaging with
You're
yourself.
putting and it was such an interesting time to be doing that because it's such an introspective time, like
Super.
in between Rosh
Super
Hashanah and Yom
introspective,
Kippur,
right.
like
Yeah.
that's kind of like you guys are like doing all that stuff together. Okay, I want to hear more about that, but like let's move on a little bit to like you said you came to Efrat. Like we're gonna work backwards. You're here in Efrat. How did you get here? Like why Efrat and kind of like why are you staying here?
Oh man, there's a lot of reasons why I'm staying here. Few reasons why I came here. We lived in Yerushalayim. We lived in Jerusalem in a neighborhood called Givat Safartit, French Hill.
Right.
It's eastern part of Yerushalayim near Hebrew University.
How long were you there for?
I want to say we were there probably 7 years,
Oh, that's
close
a long
to
time.
7 years. And we watched the neighborhood kind of change and it evolved.
Sure.
And it sort of evolved in a direction that as a community, we didn't feel that it was the right fit for us and the way
Right.
we wanted to raise our kids and how we just, our worldview, right? What we call the hashkafa, like the worldview and the way that we see it, the lens that we choose to put on, in front of us wasn't appropriate for us. We didn't want it for our kids. And so we knew we wanted to move. And I knew no one here in Gush Etzion. I just knew it was a beautiful place. I mean,
Right.
look right behind us, right, guys? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you guys think? I mean, most of you live here in Efrat. Like, this is unbelievable. We got the Judean mountains. We're surrounded by Judean mountains. It's cold in the winter. We got great forests. There's history and archaeology and so much, like, just to do.
You're like, this
Within
is your
10
thing, and
minutes.
you're living in it.
Well,
Like,
so I came here during tourism.
David's a tour guide.
Right. I'm a tour guide, so I knew it through tourism. And one of the things I noticed is that when you're driving around, nobody beeps their horn.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, you got beeped at? I don't know. You might be a Meshuggah driver. I don't know.
I'm not even paying attention. I don't even know.
You know what? It's definitely different than the city. It's for sure different than the city.
Definitely different
You know?
than Yerushalayim.
And it's a more, I use the word Hamish. It's not the right word for it, but
No.
it's like this relaxed, more like homey vibe. Okay, so like for me, coming from Muncie, I use the word Hamish, but it's really, Hamish means like chont and kegel and tuna bagel. Yakir, go for it. Tuna bagel. Yeah, that's like, I totally relate to that. That's that thing. So yeah, maybe,
But my wife was nervous because it was over the green line.
oh, okay.
And
how'd you get over that little hurdle?
So anyway, I was always
right
like,
now we're on that line, or we're way over.
No, we're way over, yeah,
But
we're
we're on
beyond
the
it.
line of our cousins here. We are literally like, if you just kind of like go down this hill right here, there's some houses here for.
you could probably go to Bet Lechem. This is the outskirts of Bet Lechem
Right.
over here. You could probably walk to Bet Lechem and still be within that 500 meters.
Wow.
of the Seger,
Right.
right? I mean, that's like it's like literally the farm
Right.
is right there. And the interesting thing also is that Efrat, Rabbi Riskin, who's one. I mean, we call him the founder. There were some people who were here before, but he basically started Efrat,
Right.
and he said, I don't want to live in a cage.
Right.
And so one of his things, he said, I don't want a fence, or I don't want to be locked in. And so there's no fence down there.
That's
This
right.
is like a security fence right here, not really, but I mean it's open. And he said, we're here, they're here. When you build fences like that, you are immediately like pushing back.
Right.
And he didn't want that. He wants to build a relationship and say, hey, we're both here. Let's find that let's find that commonality that we can all progress and move forward, beyond our differences.
Isn't there like a thing like every Sukkot, he gets together in a sukkah with the like neighboring Arab leaders, from the neighboring villages. They all sit down together in the sukkah and break bread and kind of hang out.
Yeah, he has done that in years past.
Yeah,
I don't think he did this year.
This year
yeah,
it's not
totally.
happening, but I think that's a really sweet thing. It's a really beautiful thing, as much as can be. Like we have hundreds of workers come into Efrat every day. That's all from our neighboring villages here. I don't know about so much from Daisha down here, but I know from Abdul Ibrahim and maybe even some from Beit Fajar. I could be wrong about that. But definitely from our neighboring Arab villagers, they come in. And something interesting that I was going to mention in the news, and I think I'm just going to incorporate the news in our little interview here I'm going to incorporate the news into our interview. Interestingly so, this year they're allowing workers to come into Efrat during Chol HaMoed. And now usually Chag is Chag, and workers from outside, from the neighboring Arab villages aren't allowed, and everything's just quiet. But because of all these closures and the constant shutdowns, there's a lot of building. People are in the middle of projects. There's larger projects that the town is doing. All these things kind of need to move forward. And while we are able to be doing that, they want to be able to allow for that. So there are actually workers here. And if you could see, like when I was here a little bit earlier, there's a house there being built. There were some guys there a little bit earlier today. I was just thinking to myself earlier, I'm like, what's that about? Like usually on Chag, there's no one around. So that's the reason, because there's been all these closures. And I think that's also good for our neighbors. Otherwise they would have to go home and not make their pay that week. So I think it's helpful to them, and it's helpful to us, through that. So
yeah, definitely. And maybe also they get to see us celebrating this amazing, wonderful holiday.
Right.
It kind of humanizes each other. We see how one another live beyond just what you see in the news and beyond the interaction maybe at Rami Levy, but they actually are here during such a festive time. Of
Some of them don't even know
rejoicing.
about like Sukkot. I have a Palestinian friend who lives in Shechem, who on Instagram I just took for granted. I was like, yeah, I'm chilling in the sukkah. He's like, what's a sukkah?
Yeah.
So I'm like showing him around. I'm like, well, it's a hut that we live in, and we like chill. Here's the living room.
Right.
That's
It's
awesome.
a hard one to explain also, like, what's a sukkah all about?
Step by step,
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, that must be so interesting to him, just to hear like from the other side what this is all about.
Yeah,
Okay.
I always think that they know, like, they know all our holidays.
Right, like you live here, don't you know
Yeah,
that?
Don't you see our huts?
Right.
They're like, nah, I don't.
I
No
mean,
idea
someone
what this
who's
is.
non-observant may not know that either.
Right.
So funny that we like kind of live in our own like little
Yeah.
worlds. We assume that everybody understands.
Here's a funny thing that I think we can all check out. I don't know if they redid it, but Google Maps, how they have like the street view.
Yeah.
So they were doing, the Google car was zooming around Yerushalayim. I think they were in gosh, what is it called? I can't believe I want to say Neve Daniel because now I'm here in Gush Etzion. But Neve Yaakov maybe it was called, and everybody had their huts, everybody had their sukkahs outside. And so the Google Street View had everybody with these little, like Shanty City with these little
that's
huts.
right. That's right.
Oh
I think in the Google view of some places in Efrat also, I think it was Sukkot.
Yeah.
They need to
think
check
it
the
was.
calendar, They need to check, see what's going on.
So funny.
It's so interesting. It's kind of cool to see when it's around. And
Like I'm sure they're not doing that Christmas time in America, with all the lights. Like you want to have like a natural view,
right. Like what does it look like normally?
Because I'm sure we all have, and for sure my kids, sometimes like to use Google Maps and to see streets where like grandma and grandpa live and whatnot.
Right.
That's the best.
So other people exploring another neighborhood.
So
let's
look-
say looking at Efrat. Okay, maybe if they're looking at Efrat to move here, they already know what Sukkot is. But if they just wanted to see
Right.
Israel and what it was, why do they all have these huts?
There's a
Is that
flip
for
side to
is
that,
that for
though.
the hired help?
Right. 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 You guys sleep in the huts. There's a flip side to that though, because like in my house, normally like the outside is all disheveled and there's bikes all over the place and like maybe like some bathing suits because the kids just got. And if it's Chag time, everything's like misudar and clean and neat, So like maybe that's a plus. Anyways, we're like on a way off tangent.
Yeah, let's get to know this guy here.
The bottom line is like beeping in Efrat is less. So that is why David Sussman moved to Efrat.
Well,
There
it was
is
just
less
one of the things.
car
It
beeping.
was definitely
Okay.
something, because what does that actually represent is that the people here are a different quality of individuals who aren't in such a rush. Here in Israel, it goes from red to like red and yellow and then to green.
Right.
So in Yerushalayim, it's like red, yellow. It's like, let's go.
Right.
And here, you don't have that.
You
And
don't even have
even if
traffic
it's like a
lights here.
couple seconds.
You just got traffic circles.
like on the main highway,
Yeah.
So that was one thing, and it's beautiful and all that. So I
Right.
said, let's just check it out. We actually spent 6 Shabbatot. We spent 6 weekends here, scoping out different
really?
neighborhoods and different areas, and we just decided here on. My wife fell in love with it the very first Shabbos.
Yeah.
She just felt like it was so communal. I don't want to speak negative about Yerushalayim or any of the other places that I lived at, but people were just overtly friendly here, and really helpful and wanted to reach out and
Right.
and if it was somebody's husband and my wife's walking down the street, it's a shalom, it's a I see you. If it's somebody else's wife, it's a or kids, the kids their names. It's like it's as an example today, right? I saw this kid, he ran across the street, Meshuggah, he didn't look either way, and unfortunately we have like deliveries that people zoom around.
Sure.
It's like I went to the Abba and I just said, listen, I don't know what you want. I just want to warn you that there are cars. He's new here. I said, there are cars that go fast.
Right.
I said, just, the kid didn't look both ways. Just be aware of that, So it's like people really looking out for one
Looking
another.
out for each other.
I love that.
People get excited when a new person moves in here.
Right.
Yeah.
Genuinely excited. It's like, oh my God, somebody new. Who are you?
And there's also
You
like
chose Efrat. You must be awesome.
Yeah. Let's extract this awesome.
There's also
Come
like
into
3
our
different
bouquet
committees.
of awesome people. What?
Right? There's like 3 different committees. Like when we moved to this street, all these people brought over baked goods like as part of these different welcoming committees. I thought that was really also a beautiful thing, a really nice thing. So let's in this rewinding of your life now. So Efrat told us why you're here, why you like it. You like your whole career is about showing people Eretz Yisrael and kind of guiding them through the experience here. So like when did you choose that path, and like what do you like so much about that, and like what's your favorite thing about guiding here in Israel? So when did you choose it? What's your favorite
I
thing?
like the way that this interview is going, because usually
Yeah.
you start at the beginning and you come to the present, and here
rewinding.
it's like let's move from the present and then slowly move our way back. So I'm a guide already for about 10 years. Started my education, which, believe it or not, to become a tour guide here in Israel, you got to go to school for 2 years.
Right.
It's like shocking. You know?
Right.
I remember when I first saw the advert, and I was like, oh, tour guide.
Yeah.
I was a bartender up until that point in Tel Aviv. I saw a tour guide. That's something I can do. And then I saw that it was a 2-year program, and I was like, what? 2 weeks maybe, but 2 years. Obviously, there's a lot of history and a lot of information that one needs to acquire and
Sure.
to know and to really to master and feel comfortable with, and be able to ebb and weave and flow in and out of these various subjects and topics, and be able to weave it all together
Right.
into a colorful picture that somebody can
Ingest
blink
and understand.
exactly, and absorb that and bring it home. So I've been doing it for 10 years, and really throughout life, our core being, I do not believe changes much, right? Our core being doesn't change much. The way we express it, that changes. But like that core being of that neshama that God blessed you with, right? That doesn't change. That's part of the infinite. That's unchangeable by definition. And so really I use tour guiding because I do believe that I have a personal calling really in order to, and through my own personal development, is to connect people first and foremost with who they are, right? To know who you are and to be proud of it and not to be ashamed. Right, not to be ashamed of the past, not to be ashamed of the possible possibilities that might happen, to know who you are and that you're a multifaceted individual. And I use Israel, and I use the stories from the Tanakh, and I use our Jewish heritage to bring that to folks who, by no fault of their own, might not have such a, to use your word, a bouquet of information of our Jewish heritage in order to tap into that.
Right.
And then if they get connected to their Jewish identity and they're getting connected to Israel, those are all bonuses. But first and foremost, people should know who they are, be proud of who they are,
Right.
love themselves. And once you get to that place,
Right.
everything else just begins to fall in line. And I have 10 days with a family in order to do that. And,
Wow.
we cover basically the length and breadth of Israel. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, and like when you're on a trip, right? You're going outside of your normal routine, your day-to-day. So it's really, it's kind of like what you said before, where like there's still that core you there, but like everything, all the external stuff that you normally have on a day-to-day basis, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, or I go to school or whatever I'm doing, none of that stuff is in your face right there and then. So like you're sort of like a trip is like a trip, like coming on one of these trips, you're like, I hear that part of soul searching. That's really interesting.
I think a lot of people don't even realize what they're getting into when they visit Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah.
It's not a trip to Rome. It's
Right.
not a trip to the Bahamas. It's
that
not one
kind
of
of
these
thing.
trips where it's like, okay, you take some pictures, you visit a place, you eat some good food, and you move on.
Check the list. I saw this
Exactly.
hotel.
I mean, some people are adamant for that,
Right.
but most people by like day 2, they realize, oh, wait a second, this is different. Let's like take the foot off the gas
Right.
and let's just go with this. Like they immediately. And I'm not taking any credit for this. Just like Eretz Yisrael has that energy, the stories are what they are, and the combination of all that and the natural beauty that exists here allows for people to suddenly become discombobulated
Right.
and become open to new possibilities, and that's really what it's all about.
There's nothing like that initial experience. I came here when I was 16 for the first time. So I was a little bit older, but like I was still like being molded, And I remember that first experience of coming here. It left such an imprint on me. It was such a strong imprint. I can't imagine being the guy to be there for people who are getting that, And then of course there's the repeat customers and the people who keep coming back, and there's like the deeper levels that they're starting to understand. I feel like a lot of the people who keep coming back end up just staying. I'm seeing that more and more. It's
Yes,
true.
it does
I see that
happen.
more and more. I know from like the people that I know from Muncie and my family's friends. They're coming. I know some people that are coming now, and these are the people who have always consistently come, visited, and it just kind of like gets through you. Like you're saying, it's not just a trip to a place. Kind of just gets through you. It's so interesting. What are like the repeat customers like? What do you try to show? Like, is it like these niche little areas, like this corner of the town that we're in right now? What are you showing the people who are coming back time after time?
So I wanted to comment a little bit on what you were saying before of people who come back over and over again. Eventually they're going to make Aliyah. Eventually they want to be. There's something that's obviously bringing them back here over and over and over again. It's very hard for many people to actually just break away and do that. If you hire a tour guide for 10 days and you have a family of 5,
Right.
that's a huge investment. And I've guided hundreds of families, thousands of people, and I would say a good majority of them, yeah, sure, they could probably, drop the amount of money it requires for that, but that's a huge investment. The people who are coming back for like a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and I have had families that have used me, nearly 10 times.
Right.
And when they're coming back for those other trips, we might go out for a day or two, but then they're just kind of, they're not staying at a hotel anymore. They're renting a place
Right.
in Rechavi in Yerushalayim or up north or something of that nature. And then they're doing a little touring, and they're really just like soaking it in,
Right.
just taking a step back. So what do I do with them? Is that I'll do more hikes, more lengthy hikes, visit, some very unique places, maybe do like a cooking class or something of that, and focus on like just one spot, maybe go out and meet some soldiers, make
Beautiful.
a barbecue for them, have like a whole army day up north, and do activities, on that 10-day trip when you come for that first time. It's not like bum, 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 like we said before, but there is
you want.
You're trying to
Masada.
maximize
You
your
wanna see the
time.
hotel. Right.
So
I'm getting
now,
that.
if you're
Yeah.
going to go back to Masada, you're probably going to stay at the Dead Sea this time. You're going to go up maybe at sunrise and go back, and you're going to hang out back at the hotel. And maybe then you're going to, instead of doing En-Gedi for an hour and a half, you can spend 4 hours there. I take my kids there where we go there all day.
Right.
You can relax in En-Gedi all day. It's beautiful.
That's right.
Waterfalls, beautiful nature, wild animals, hiking. It's,
Sure.
Wow.
Unreal. And like just the whole experience for these people when they keep coming back, it just gets deeper and deeper. Wow. It's really, really wild. Okay, so I wanted to also just ask you a little bit, like right now during this crazy time, it seems like you're doing more than you've ever been doing. Like I'm seeing more and more videos up. I see you're out touring. No matter what, you're out touring.
Right.
You're with other guides, you're with family, you're with friends, and you're out doing it. So like number one, I get it. You're this is a way for you to continue to be busy, right? This is what you do, this is what you love, right? But I don't know, man. You have this wonderful knack of or this drive or this love of, I don't know. Can you explain it to me? Like what gets you out the door every single day to go? And you're not just going locally, you're going all over the place. What gets you out the door every single day?
Hirsch, these are great questions.
I'm firing them at you.
And I feel like we could.
Which one of
I
them
feel
you
like
want
we could hang here for days, really, and really get into it. I don't know, to just really condense it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm wasting this time. I've been basically unemployed for 7 months. The government does give some assistance. We are obviously burning through our savings, but we also are trying to, make ends meet in various ways. So I do these virtual tours,
Right.
And people are able to give some type of gratuity for them. And
Right.
I've traveled all around, and I've actually, acquired or have built a relationship with hundreds of people have attended these virtual tours, but I've built a relationship with dozens of them where we've had some dialogue back and forth, and I am now that person that they can turn to when they have questions about Eretz Yisrael, and they have questions about, Tanakh, about, biblical scripture, and the stories here in Eretz Yisrael. Now, as far as what gets me out the door, so...
And don't say siftach coffee.
No.
Because it is. It's a good reason. It's a good reason. We love it.
Yeah, I got an espresso machine. I love coffee. It's much deeper than that. I need to be active. That's just me. I need to be doing things. Sitting idle for me is not a good thing.
Right.
And so, as I was saying before, you got your core self, and then you find different ways to express it. And this lockdown has forced me to find different ways to express that which I have inside of me that needs to be expressed. I've taken a digital marketing course, and I'm just, and that's why you see a lot of the videos is I have time to do all that now. So I'm working with new video apps, and thank you.
And there's all these graphics and intros.
Thank you. That's all me. It's like I'm learning all that stuff.
On the podcast, Yakir's been handling all that, and it's been wonderful.
I've learned a lot from Yakir. I've actually asked him a bunch of questions.
It takes a lot of time. Yak, and what you do is amazing too. Like we really appreciate it.
Yak.
I love it.
I like
love
that.
It. It's great.
I'm just gonna zoom out a big picture of me there.
Can you use your emoji guy from Facebook again? That was great.
This is terrible. Looks, I don't know. Whatever. That's not important.
But the whole graphic thing.
Here's the emoji, folks, so you can see it right there. We're just going to throw that in there. That's the emoji that we're talking about.
Yeah, you're always like, oh, look at this and that.
It's over here. It's over here.
Great.
It's over here.
So like you're doing all that on your own,
I just ordered a green screen. So if you guys,
really?
it's coming in on Josh's lift.
Okay,
bro.
Yeah.
Just a little. Okay.
You just lit me up. I've been sitting here sort of like, I need coffee. I love you guys.
Sorry to bore you guys. I'm sorry to bore you.
I love you guys. But
No,
I'm just like, I'm totally zoned out today. So you guys do a great job. But
It's okay. We can do this again tomorrow.
You perked me
I'm
up on the
loving
green
this. I'm
screen.
loving this.
We're probably gonna do it again tomorrow. I love sitting here and talking with my buddies. It's great. Of course, some days. What was that? The sunrise episode. We were so groggy. Remember that? It took us
It's a great episode.
Oh my gosh!
I
you
love
don't
that
even know.
episode.
Like,
that was with
we
Mendy,
had
right?
we were all grinding. Like we had just woke up, And then I don't know, like when you're with buds, it flows. I love it.
Yeah.
I did that for the time lapse.
Right.
That was awesome, right?
Dude, you did a lot of graphics on that. Thank you again.
When you have the sunrise,
stuff.
it makes it easy.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
that
when
was
you have good
epic.
footage, when you have good people,
Yeah.
when you got good dialogue.
It's you can't beat it. We did a sunrise episode. We're gonna have to do a sunset episode too.
I was thinking that, and we're
I mean,
almost
hey,
we're almost there.
you know?
Actually, just turn it.
Sussman
We
had this
easily got a
ridiculous
couple
idea,
hours
okay?
of.
Ridiculous idea. You have a green screen, right? Can we do like a virtual drone, a flying drone tour? Like, you know how like you have like the above footage, right? This is getting trippy now. I get it.
I'm just
But,
thinking, you know,
like-
those people, you have a restaurant that they lift you up on a crane
Right.
and you're floating in air and you have,
Oh yeah,
Where?
Like in
Where is
Seattle,
that?
there's something like that.
Yeah, in
There's,
Seattle.
like,
They
that
had it in
giant
Tel Aviv for like a
restaurant.
week. They had like this pop up restaurant.
Oh,
It was
yes,
like
yes,
a
yes,
crane
yes.
that lifted you up.
Yes,
And
I thought you meant still here. I didn't do that. I want to do that.
Yeah, I
Either way,
wanna
it doesn't
do that. I
matter.
haven't
Go on.
done that either.
Keep going.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
crane right here in the Zayat. We can maybe
Just
for
eat on it.
okay. Right? Yeah, I
Build
don't know.
a sukkah on it.
a sukkah restaurant in a crane.
I'm
Wonderful.
gonna have to send you guys some footage, and you can splice and you can put it in here. There was a guy on
Yeah.
a crane that had a barbecue. He actually fired up his Mongol, his
Mongolian.
Mongolian
fighter.
It was Mongolian beef.
I was about to start going South Park.
I
with
know.
that.
I know. That's
Mongolians.
immediately what comes to mind.
There was an emergency evacuation, so just be
Yeah.
careful. It was a great idea,
Oh, wow.
but kids
Yeah,
don't
I
try
mean,
that at home.
I can't
What?
imagine
Eat
that
what?
it's
Putting
the
a
safest
restaurant
thing.
on a crane?
No, that's a good idea.
Oh, that's
Just
a good
because
idea.
you
What
wanted
was-
just to climb
This
up
is
to the
my
top of that
favorite
crane and have
episode yet.
dinner.
It's the tangents that are really my favorite part of this, because it's like I feel like that's what our conversation flow is. It's like we were going from I want to hear about you, but in these tangents,
not
I'm
really.
hearing
Not
no.
really.
In
No,
these
we're not
tangents, I am actually seeing that, and I'm learning about that. It's really cool. So now that I've called out our tangent, okay, going back to my virtual flying idea. I'm kidding. No. So the bottom line is like you know you're taking all these courses. And you're doing a lot of this stuff on your own. Okay. Where is all where do you, like when do you do this? When do you have the time to do this, man? I see you're involved also in our beautiful Kehila or Dagan.
Thank God.
Like-
Hershey, I'm busy. When I was working, I
Yeah.
was busy. One of the things I love about being a tour guide is you can just like pump in those 12, 15-hour days. You can work for, 2 weeks straight.
Right.
And then unlike a regular 9-to-5 job, you have 4 or 5 days off. The last 3 years, my wife and I brought the kids out and we did a 6-week vacation in America and went all over the place. You get to set your own schedule.
Yeah.
But I was always constantly busy. And so that's what I've been doing this time as well, just trying to constantly engage. So
Right.
if I'm at home and I'm with the kids and I have like, and all of a sudden they're getting into their Magno tiles or building train and I have that half hour, boom, I'm on my phone and I'm
Right.
not surfing. I'm on my phone
That's right.
and I'm working with my apps, and I'm just doing some editing and how now, the trick that I'm trying to hone into the skill is to take that, hour tour at a place like Caesarea, which has its stories that build on top. And every time I go to a place, I try and bring some type of philosophical point out at the end. That little bite-sized thing that we can stick into our pocket and
Right.
take home with us and to take out when we need to, when we face those trials and tribulations in life. And so how do I condense all that and make like an engaging, awesome, eye-popping 60-second, 90-second video
Right.
that somebody's going to be able to get that? Because let's face it, when those that do this, not all day long, but those that do, we all do that to some degree, right?
Sure.
And you're going like this. You don't
scroll.
have 5 minutes to watch a video. I don't care how engaging it is.
Right.
You're, and I'm sure you guys see this. You look at the
Scrolling.
analytics and you're like,
all
oh
the
wow,
time,
I
yeah.
got like 10,000 views, and then you're like, oh wait a second, only 2,000 actually watched it
Stayed
for
on.
10
No, all of
seconds or
ours watched
longer.
the whole thing.
And then
all of ours
from
watched
that,
the
it's
whole
like-
thing. I don't know about you. We have 100% retention
Nobody
rate for
is
all
seeing this
25,
right now.
35 minutes. I
So great.
think there's like one person who like watched
Thank
the whole
you,
thing.
and we appreciate you. You should
Yeah.
know that.
It's all about that one person anyway. Either
Well,
way,
it's
go on,
just
sorry.
one.
That's building
it
your
starts with
community. You
one.
taught me
That's-
that.
1-to-1. Either way,
It starts
Takes
with
one to know one.
takes one to know one.
One
And they're
love.
seeds, It's like you
Yeah.
can't build you can't plant a garden and just like, where are my plants?
Right.
Where's my plants?
Doesn't
I want
work
it to
that
grow
way.
now. It's
Unless
like,
you
no.
do microgreens. Microgreens, 4 days, boom, you got some fresh, healthy greens.
Oh, it's microgreens.
Wonderful. What kind of stuff do you eat? What kind of food do you eat? What do you like?
Wow, what kind of stuff do I eat? You know, it's like I'm conscientious for not eating. Like I don't like my I was gonna say like the chips and all that and the junk food. My one weakness is Cheetos. I love Cheetos, so like I can definitely throw down a bag of Cheetos from time to time.
Nice.
You're like Cheetos.
Yeah, I like Cheetos.
Is there something about Cheetos aside from the flavor or the taste? Is there something that draws you to Cheetos more than just?
You mean like that little cheetah?
Yeah, like
he's
the
a cool
cheetah,
character.
Or
He is a
it-
cool
or is
character.
it the crunch? Like
Always
what?
go back to the branding.
What's the?
I mean, it
what's
could be the
top-
brand from when I was a kid, but I think it is obviously the flavor.
Okay.
And I'm always about the crunch. You know, my wife always puts like nuts in the salad. Like I like to have a nice
You're
little
more of a crunch?
You know that turkey sandwiches. You know, when I
Yes.
do turkey. If there's chips in the house, you better believe I got
That
some
goes in the
potatoes.
sandwich.
That
Big
goes
chip in the
in the
sandwich
sandwich.
guy.
It gives a
I hear
nice
that.
little crunch to
You're
it.
chip in the
It's
sandwich
good.
guy.
Right.
I'm a chip in the sandwich guy.
I love that. Why not? Why not?
You can't bring that on the tour though, because it'll get soggy, man. Or
Well,
you
listen, when I'm
put
on
the
the
chips in
tour,
after.
you know,
Yes.
that's another thing. So, like, what
Yeah.
do I, so I'm conscientious. My wife and I, we do like a detox once a year. We try and we try and eat some salads whenever we can, but I'm
Sure.
like a big meat guy. I
Right.
barbecue. I know, for those of you who don't know, Yak's a vegan.
Friends, not food.
And it was very funny. We actually had him over for a Shabbat meal.
Cook the most bomb vegan food ever.
And I was,
I'm gonna
I was
finish this sentence
laughing.
for
My
her.
wife and I, because we're like online, we're like, we said,
Looking up recipes.
I bet you when they go to other people's houses and they're like, we're vegan, they must get the same vegan food all the time because
Right.
everybody's like,
Yeah, usually
vegan
people are
food,
like,
what do
"Ah,
we make? You know?
What are we gonna make?
And it's like, if
We always
if
offer
so-
to bring a main, by the way. We're always like, listen, this
And
is
your
our
main
thing.
was awesome,
We'll
dude.
bring
What was that? It was like a
main.
Mexican
Don't worry. We just
salad
want to
with
hang.
quinoa.
Right.
Before we were vegan, we hated when vegan people came over. It's like, shoot, what are we gonna make? Either way,
Right.
Yeah, you guys are
made
gonna
the
hate me when
best.
you're editing this because I'm like, I feel like
Loving
I'm
it.
such a talker.
You
That's
guys
why I'm a
made the
tour
best
guide.
vegan food.
That's the whole point
This
of it.
is this
Ask
is
me
it.
one question. Let me talk for an hour. All
This
right?
is us. This is the whole premise behind that
Literally the
show.
point
This
of
is
what
us.
we're doing.
This is us. Take it or leave it.
Love it.
Anyways, I just got to say this because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So I thought of it in my head, and I was like, as Jews, it's like we get invited over in America, like somebody else's house, and we're like, hey, honey, sweetie, we're having Jews over for dinner.
Right.
A friend of mine from work, he's Jewish. Like, what do Jews eat? I don't know. Let's look it up online. Next thing you know, you come there and you got like matzo ball soup and gefilte fish, and you're like, what the hell's
Like
going on? This is
cliche,
Wednesday. What's going on?
right.
Exactly. Google.
Oh my god,
So-
that's great. That reminds me actually of never mind.
We had we had a vegan over. Come on, Yak, out with it.
Go
you're-
there.
It reminds me of when I was going around America and we ended up in Maine by just some random person's house. Couldn't make it to where we're going for Shabbat, so we holed up at like some random person's house.
This is
for
when
Shabbat.
you were on
Didn't-
tour?
Yeah,
Music?
didn't know anything about Shabbat or anything.
Right.
That's
Sweetest
awesome.
people, some of my favorite people in the world. Obviously, if you're watching this, Mama Hicks, love you. Either
Mama
way,
Hicks.
Mama Hicks, the best of the best. Either way, I still have some of your kitchen towels. I think I'm gonna mail them back to you. But we walk in, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't have a blowtorch to like kosher, to make the oven kosher and make stuff. And I was like, you
Wow.
looked this up because we only told them like 2 hours before. By the way, we're not going to make it. We got a hole up by you. So in like 2 hours, she read whatever she could about like, oh man, we're going to have like Jewish people over and they do Shabbat and all this stuff. And it was like, it was amazing. They're amazing. So it
Wow.
reminds me of
That's
that.
I feel like
I
if
didn't
that
have a
was any
blowtorch.
one of us,
Yeah.
we would have gotten into like the third or fourth sentence, and we would have been on a tangent. We would have been looking at this. Oh, what is that? What is that actually? Where does that come from? Oh, wow, this country. What else does that country do?
What's the
Next
Latin
thing you know,
root
they
of the
come over
word,
and you're like,
oblivion?
oh, wait a second, I was supposed to cook dinner. I forgot.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Classic.
So what are we talking about?
Well, we were talking about vegans.
You're a tour guide.
And we're talking about what you love to eat. And look, we're talking about a lot of things here, but I think to come full circle, like your life here, Eretz Yisrael, Efrat, what's meaningful to you. You're also part of like this wonderful kahila. We're more than a part of it. You're like a driving force in our shul, in our synagogue. So maybe you want to just tell us a little bit about that and your part in it. You're the kiddush guy. You're also the guy who makes the announcements, and you're pretty much helping to get all the minyanim together and
Hirsch. This
Getting
is,
all the guys
again,
together,
I love
put
this
it
like
together.
little rewind
Yeah.
thing that we're doing here. There's just so many layers to everything here in life, and like even my upbringing, my mom's like a naturopath. She was like a Reiki Master, and she did iridology and looked into your eyes and could read your soul and tell you what's going on. She was like a proper healer and healed many, many people and diagnosed them correctly and was able to help them and literally heal them from major diseases, through diet, through energy work, through through psychological evaluation and discussion and dialogue. So, and I'm a Baal Tshuva, my family's not religious, and when I started to become more engaged with my Jewish aspect, my Jewish self, my family was very nervous and they, talking to me, and my mom though was like, hey, like, I'm not into it.
Right.
But I see it as being holistic. I see it as being good. I see the lifestyle as being honorable.
Right.
And she was just all about it. And so a lot of my spiritual growth has been based and saturated in having a wholeness and a holistic approach to life and engaging it. And then, when right before I moved here, somebody suggested that I go to Uman.
Okay.
For Rosh Hashanah.
Aliyah or Efrat?
No.
Before you moved here to Efrat?
Oh, no, before I moved here to Efrat.
Aliyah?
So my wife is also in Jewish education.
First you got to go to Uman, then you go to Efrat. Okay. Mark that down, guys.
And it's not bad. It's not a bad idea.
I don't know.
But
you seem to be doing great.
I will say, I think everybody who is married should go to Uman at least once in their life, and specifically for Rosh Hashanah. And really those who aren't married as well. But I think being married, it's much more powerful. And also I think being married, you become a little bit more centered and a little bit more grounded and, you more responsibility, whatever it is. Sure. And you want to maximize that moment in time. So anyways, I had no desire to go to Uman. We're at a Shabbaton that my wife was conducting. I had nothing to do with it. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't even a guest speaker. It was like the first time in like 10 years. I wasn't
you're sitting shotgun.
And actually, my buddy Emmanuel, who lives just right down the street from here, he was talking about Uman Rosh Hashanah. I'm like, I have no desire to go over Rosh Hashanah. Like, bring me there another time. Let's do a tour. Let me learn about these people. I don't know anything about Chassidut. And he said, no, it's a place of Achdut and 50,000 people coming together and calling out to Hashem. And it's a recalibration. And my wife looked at me and she said, this is everything that you've been talking about for a while now. Right. Maybe this is a good opportunity for you. Like, if you want to go to Uman for 5 days with a bunch of bros, no problem. And I was like, seriously, sweetie?
Wow.
She's like, yeah. And so when your wife gives you a hall pass for 5 days to go anywhere with your bros,
it's a big one.
You just take it.
For sure.
You just take it and you run with that. And I did. And the davening there of screaming out, and I don't know if you guys have been there. I don't know who's been there is seeing this, but like you just scream out the top of your lungs to Kadosh Baruch Hu, all your gratitude and all your thanks and all your desires and everything you want for everybody in your world and in your existence and even those people that you don't know. And when you have that and everybody's doing it and people are crying and it's just like you're jumping up on tables and you're singing songs. And one of the things about exercising, you're breathing heavily so all the oxygen's rushing to your brain, and it's just like was a huge opening.
Right.
And when I came here, I found it in little bits and pieces and places and here and there and certain minyanim that I went to in certain moments in time and certain evenings, certain gatherings of people. But I wanted to have that really all the time.
Right.
And so really I can't say that I was involved, I guess, since the beginning, Kilat or Dagan, but let's give props to Jerry and to Moshe Rothschild and so many other people who worked tirelessly at it as well. And when it just sprang out, I just realized that this was an openness for you to do what you want in your davening. So if you want your arms out and you want to like just shake, you want to like scream out, you want to sigh, you want to clap your hands, you want to jump up and down, you want to leave,
right?
You want to come late,
you want
to do whatever, you want to bring your kids, like it's just like, hey, this is what it's about. And so for me, that's been awesome. And then to second that, when I did go to yeshiva, I was 30 years old and I was a Baal Tshuva.
Okay.
I wasn't the guy who like cleaned up the Beit Medrash, cleaned up the books and like set up and all that kind of stuff. So now, and I know there's a big zchut and there's a big merit in it. So being a part of this shul that I love so much and believe in so much, and the guys who come there, to be the first guy there and to set it up, to me, that I love it. I love it. I love putting the chairs out exactly where I think people are going to enjoy it the most. You know, I love cleaning up afterwards and being like, okay, I even like picking up the trash from Sif Talk in order that we should have a nice, clean environment. I don't know if I think maybe it's therapeutic or whatever. And I'm also feel good that that in any which way, just even a little bit, that I'm part of something that's so special, and hopefully other people who are coming there, and we have new people come all the time, that they also feel that specialness to it, and they must, because a lot of them keep on coming back.
Yeah, bro, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I actually, you know, we've been buddies for a little while now, and I never heard all that, and that's really, really sweet. Well, dude, it's been awesome having you here.
Dude, we're not done, man.
You know,
You haven't even asked me any questions.
I want to do
feel
a
like-
Where are
whole-
you from?
Where are you from?
How'd you make Aliyah?
How'd you make
Why'd
Aliyah?
you make Aliyah?
You have a
2 seconds.
You have a-
How'd you make Aliyah?
Hold
2
on, ready?
seconds, go.
Ready? Rewind. Lightning round.
No, we're
We
gonna
could
do this
lightning
again
round.
tomorrow, and we're gonna start from the beginning and be like, "Where were you born?" I'm gonna say I was born in Princeton. Where'd you go after that?
Yeah, no, go on. You were
And
born in
Boston,
Princeton,
and Florida, and Buffalo, and Philadelphia, and that's all before graduating high school.
Yeah,
and like different towns
I
and
heard
all those
your story a
areas.
little bit. You have a wild story.
You know, I was a big Phish head, traveling the country in a VW bus.
What's a fish head?
It's on Rosh Hashanah.
Good, well played.
It's like every moment is like a new beginning. You know, what's a fish head? You know, traveling around. I think one of the things I was so addicted of seeing it is like truth seekers, all that, but also it was like every night was like a new beginning. Like Rosh Hashanah, the head of the fish. It's like, it's a new beginning.
Josh Fleet, you're listening.
Yeah, Josh Fleet, right. and so, but that really goes into like the whole idea of Jack Kerouac and, being a Dharma bum, and just like there's nobody that you need to answer for the last night because boom, you're in a new city. And so that's like a positive thing and a negative thing at the same time, right? But I took that desire or that part of Phish Tour, which I was probably using in a negative way at that time, but your core being is the same. So where is that expression now coming from? Every morning we say Modeh Ani Lefanecha. Like every morning you got a new song. Every morning God's saying, hey, I believe in you. Every morning you got a new opportunity to be the best you that you can be. Even if you think you failed the day before, which you didn't, but even if you think you did, here's a new day for you. Shavua Tov, it's a new week, Blessings. Hey, it's Rosh Chodesh, it's a new month. Like there's a new opportunity. You've been forgiven for everything else. Like, and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot and all these holidays, like Judaism is constantly about refreshing, constantly about new beginnings.
I don't want to end this. I'm going to ask you one more question then, because since we got
started.
to it, it's like, how did you
get?
get to Judaism? So how did you get to observant Judaism? I
So
guess,
Phish retired.
I guess I could say.
Do you call this that we do?
Yeah.
October 8th, October 9th, in 2000.
Yeah.
Shoreline. Stuck out on the West Coast, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Just started jumping around different places, and then I said, you know what? I'm just going to go abroad, and I'm gonna do something different.
You burned every bridge in every city in the United States, so I might as well.
Or maybe I built too many bridges, and the people who were crossing them weren't people who I wanted to really associate. They weren't good for me,
Interesting.
And when you're in a routine and in a lifestyle, and all suddenly it's like a big part of that was the concert and was the lot and was like the hustle and everything about it. Honestly, that was stripped away. All that I was left with at that time was like the party, but there was no direction in it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go abroad and start new somewhere and something. And I literally went to the airport. I had no destination in mind, and I started Tel Aviv, and I said, you know what, I'm Jewish. I actually had a brother who lived here at the time. I said, man, we'll go see my brother Todd. And I went and bought a ticket right there, and almost 20 years later,
Wow.
I'm still here hanging out with some awesome guys, and it's been amazing, and then I went to Tel Aviv, and I worked in the bars of Tel Aviv on the beach. There was a pagua, there was a terrorist attack that made me make Aliyah finally after 2 years. And then Yasser Efrat, this terrible human being, was talking about a 1,000,000-man march to Jerusalem. And I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to defend my people? What do I know? And so I went to the army at 27. I did artillery.
27.
27, exactly. Wow. They were like, dude, you're too old. You're past your prime. And
It's
I'm
writing
like,
a check.
and
You're
they
buying
like,
you
I'm like,
cash.
I am not. That's my problem. They let me in. They put me in a thing called Shlav Bet. It's like remedial army. But when you're done with your remedial army, they
Yeah.
put you into a regular miluim.
Right.
And so the first time I got called up to reserve duty, miluim's reserve duty, I served in the Second Lebanon War. I had a near-death experience. I had PTSD afterwards. And I got some therapy, thank God. And then I was looking for a new direction, a new path in life. And I saw the advert to become a tour guide. So when I was out studying to become a tour guide, and I was with the professors, and I was with the archaeologists and the scientists, not the rabbis. I mean, there were sometimes we had rabbis, for religious studies, but not the rabbis. For all intents and purposes, look like secular folks.
Right.
And they're saying, this is how we know that the story in the Tanakh took place. And if you look at the tooling and you look at this and the way it's described in the Tanakh and the Bible, and I was like, wait a second, like this isn't another piece of ancient fiction.
Right.
This is actually, this is history. And I'm like, if this is real history that you can use your five senses and really grab hold of, then this is my history. And that was mind boggling to me. And so I wanted to learn a little bit about the stories behind the stories, because this suddenly was went from fiction to nonfiction to history to my history to ways. And this is the diary of my great-great-great-grandparents, right? Our great-great-grandparents.
Wow.
They were involved in those stories. I'm reading the stories that they were, involved in. And so I said, I got to learn, the religious side, the spiritual side, that perspective. And I went to Aish Torah, and, there's a common term saying I got Aished. And I said, I got Aished. And I remember my good buddy, Phil, who's a tour guide as well. And we super, super good friends. He looked at me and says, you know what they're going to do to you when you're there? They're going to brainwash you. And I looked at him, I said, Phil, my brain needs some washing, man. and I went there, and it was great. And Baruch Hashem, 12 years later, still loving life, man. Really loving life, Never loved it more than I did today.
Amen. Beautiful.
Bro.
That's a great place to wrap
That's
up.
awesome. We're going to have to end it
I don't
here.
want it.
I know,
Let's
but
do part
separation
two.
anxiety
Come back
already.
tomorrow.
we're
We'll
going to
do
have
the
to
same
do take
thing.
two. With everybody we
There's-
have on, we're just hitting the surface on these things,
Right.
Yeah, we got to have, you have recurring guests, There's
Yeah.
two things I want to talk about next time. One is you use the word calibration, because use it consistently, and I think it has a lot of meaning. And number two is, I don't know if you noticed, when you're talking about expression, you say it in this way, you talk about how you express that in your core. You say it in this way that lights me up. And your hand movement has this emanation to it that I want to dive into. I want to dissect this whole
Awesome, man. I'm looking forward to
expression
that.
And that's
thing.
without all of your after post-production stuff on your video. That's just you in real person.
Yeah.
Right.
The experience of
Dude,
you
you
in
guys
real
are the
person
sweetest, and I
is-
love this
is
podcast, and I love
wonderful.
what you guys are doing, and I'm looking forward to when the roles are reversed, because you guys have incredible, amazing, awesome stories coming from Muncie and coming from New York, and your whole recalibration of the business that you were in on saying collapse and finding a new route, and of course, Yak's an amazing musician, has been all around, really probably the world, but definitely around America, performing in front of hundreds of people, then coming here and choosing this spot, and how we've all really come to this same realization that there really is no better place to be day in, day out than Eretz Yisrael, Gush Etzion, and as far as I'm concerned, Efrat and this neighborhood of Dagan. This is the peak, and I'm all over Israel, and I have favorite places, but day in, day out, there's no place I'd rather be than right here, and also with you and your families and the other families that live here. It's really special, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to hang out with you guys,
Right
because this
on.
is the longest we've really hung out.
Oh, I know.
I feel like
That's why I
in
love these.
conversation.
It's great.
That's true.
We learn so much about each other.
Yeah.
Can you do for us a David Sussman sign off? You do the welcome, but I don't know. I've never seen well, folks, that's that. Or
We'll leave the light on for you.
That's it. Done. Awesome.
All right. This has been great. You guys are awesome.
Mic
And,
drop.
You guys are awesome.
Love you, bro.